Episode
Loaded
9
Sport.
Does he sit second, man?
No, I don't think he does. I think Kevin Keegan probably sits second.
Oh my God, what a scandal.
Austin Eckler versus the Cards. Go and fuck the lot of you.
God, Eckler.
He's making me like I'm some sort of cameo, like I've come in and go, hand out the bag, England to win.
Hello and welcome to episode 29 of Loaded Sport. Now, in honour of the Super Bowl taking place this weekend, we're going to do things a little bit differently and kick things off this week with the NFL. Now, unfortunately, Sam was listed as inactive earlier on today and therefore won't be available for today's show, but we still have four blokes whose knowledge and insight is unparalleled elsewhere. Firstly,
Got some fucking guests, bro. Sell the dream.
I'll tell you what, you take it from here.
Nope.
Shut up, then. How are you doing, Skin? You all right?
Yes, mate. Are you?
I was all right until just then. I was doing okay.
Anything, any bloody reason to be miserable, you. Yes, mate. I'm very excited. I've got a nice rum just to take the edge off of a busy day and a busy week. But what's keeping me going is the fact that we are fast approaching the single best Sunday of all the 52 Sundays in the year. So I cannot wait, mate.
Great news. Joining us also is Kempy. You all right?
Mr. Dawson, man with the mic. How are we doing, chaps? You okay?
Oh, he's not done. Oh,
It's
suspense.
too time consuming.
Gotta wait for
Wait
the
by the hour.
boys. Gotta wait
The
for Aggie to unveil the special
Star-studded.
guest we've got with us today. That's
Well,
it.
if the intro's anything to go by, it's going to be a massive disappointment, so don't sell yourself quickly. Join us to
Thank
do...
you.
Pun?
Go on.
There we go. He's kind of introducing himself. To take part in the listener lock-in, but also talk to us about the NFL and the build-up to the Super Bowl.
And he's also coming on Kempy's Combat Corner, baby.
The fucking
First ever guest on
debut.
Kempy's Combat Corner. Back.
How are we doing, Tina? You all right?
Sorry, mate, I coughed and I didn't fucking hear it. Yeah, I'm good. I am. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Looking forward to the Super Bowl?
Mate, I am ecstatic. I haven't been involved in one for a long, long time. But yeah, I look forward to it every single year.
Excellent news.
Without fail.
Great news. Joining us also is one of the founding members of Loaded Sport. I'm going to ask him, first of all, how he's looking forward to this weekend, because I know he's going to be excited. Mudge, welcome back.
This weekend, the NFC champions will fucking win the Super Bowl. Let's go, Eagles!
Good night, everybody.
Fly, Eagles, fly, bitch. Patrick Bumholmes is going home.
You never see these sorts of like pride before a fall type situations, do you?
So it's
You're
nice to
definitely
witness
not
it
going to be
live.
coming back on Thursday next week. Tail between legs.
Bloody scrape past the New York Giants, back skin of the teeth, and now he thinks they're going to win Super Bowl.
If you're talking skin of their teeth, it must be a fucking cat tooth, mate. That was
we were owned by end of first quarter.
yeah.
I think we could have given him a better game, to be honest.
Oh my God.
Bold
Yeah.
statement from the number one pick.
I think I was really knackered from the sensational stag do we had that ended at 9 p.m. that
Oh,
night.
save it.
Save it
Also-
for the year end of year review.
Kempy, do you say it's called Kempy's Combat Sport?
Kempy's
Combat
Combat
Corner.
Corner, baby.
All right.
Kempy's
I'm
Combat
not going to
Corner.
lie, mate. I heard something a bit different. I thought it was Kempy's Comeback Corner.
Oh, well.
That's after the watershed.
That's we're not quite there
Upshot
just
corner.
yet. Not quite there.
Anyway, Aggie, how do you want to go down the route of previewing the best game in sport?
Well, I think we've got to start with Mudge, haven't we? The Eagles are in the Super Bowl. I know you've told us that you think the Eagles, or you know the Eagles, are going to go ahead and win the Super Bowl. What, for you, is it that stands out that makes you so confident that you're going to get one over on the Chiefs?
Firstly, I want to shout out my best friend Liam Godber for hosting it every year. His team have never made it, but my team have made it twice.
Ever.
So he's just got to sit there and watch my team perform in the Super Bowl when his team has never done it. Now, his lovely wife, Carly, is also a Giants fan. Her team has never made it, but they've got
in the den. We don't need anyone listening
You
going.
won it twice.
Yeah.
It lost-
They
Yeah.
never made it while we've been watching it in the
We're
den.
talking Den era, Kemp, mate. We're not
Okay.
talking
Den
about
era,
40
mate.
years ago, mate.
Fair
All
play,
right.
fair play.
I'm so excited. I've been reading loads of articles in regards to how it will go. It doesn't matter because, like, at the end of the day, it's a Super Bowl any given Sunday.
Yes.
I've been looking at it from a team by team segment. So I've been looking at it from quarterback. Chiefs win. Mahomes is the better quarterback than Jalen Hurts as of right now. The O-line, I think that's where we will dominate the game. Hopefully, with keeping Hurts clean, dominating with the run game. I think our O-line is probably the best in the NFL this season. Wide receivers, we win. Mecole Hardman's out for the Chiefs, who's obviously a big weapon, a big deep threat. I think they'll have MVS, so Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who's obviously a good talent, but we've got Darius Slay, Bradbury there. I think we've got a good chance of keeping him quiet. So yeah, wide receivers we will win. Running back at edge towards us. Sanders has had a really good season this year, and looking at defensive bits, I'd say D-line again goes to us because we've had most sacks this season in the NFL. Basically, what I'm trying to say is it's written in the stars for us, to be honest, because our team is pretty loaded. But then at the same time, they've got Travis Kelce and Mahomes who just create magic when they're on the field. So I will be very nervous. I'm not going to enjoy it. Tina's going to probably make me do a shot of Jaeger to calm my nerves. But
maybe half a bottle. Who knows?
Yeah, well, I don't want to black out. I want to watch the game. But,
just something that you said there, Much, to give you some credit. Last year, you mentioned Jalen Hurts having the potential to become one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the league. Be up there with your Josh Allens, and he's proved that this season. You were absolutely right in that prediction with the performance that he's got. He's led that team, and now they're going into the Super Bowl. Tina, obviously, this is the first time that you're joining us, and we asked you to not only do the lock-in this week, but also join us for the Super Bowl preview.
Yep.
Justin Fields has got a lot of those sort of I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but that's
qualities,
traits.
Yeah,
traits, qualities that Jalen Hurts has. Can you see him? Obviously, he needs the pieces around him that Jalen Hurts has got, and Philly have done brilliantly well in their offseason and their drafts to give him that full squad. But do you think Justin Fields has the capability? Because what he's done this season, I'll be honest, from neutral perspective for both teams, I don't think he's far off of what Hurts has done in previous seasons, where a lot of people have thought, oh, is he the guy? And Mudge quite rightly backed him to say he's going to be one of the best dual threats, and he's proved that this season. Can you see a similar thing with Fields?
100%. At the start of the season, obviously, I gave him a lot of criticism, but as the season wore on, he just improved. I know his passing stats don't look overly impressive from the outside looking in, but the receivers he's passing to, basically practice squad guys. The O-line was patchwork at best, and he carried our offense to, well, an unbelievable stretch, and we had like 4 or 5 weeks on the road, we were scoring like nearly 30 points a game, and that was against top tier like opposition as well. I know we narrowly lost a few of them, but yeah, 100%. I think he's got the talent, he's got the mental capability, his pocket awareness improved massively. We just need to do our bit now in surrounding him with the talent. If he doesn't pan out, then fair enough. But I'm confident he would. But he's shown us enough to back him. So I think let's go out there, let's build him an O-line, let's get him a couple of good receivers. Keep going with that run game that we've got. Keep him on his feet, and yeah, absolutely. I think he'll be right up there.
We might be talking about Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl this week. We might be talking about Justin Fields in the Super Bowl going forward. We will see. But we'll stay with you, Tina, just for now. And what do you think is going to go down this weekend? Who can you see from a neutral perspective coming out with the Vince Lombardi Trophy when it's all said and done?
I want the Eagles to win it. I do. I just think I'm a big believer of football being won in the trenches. I think the Eagles do edge it on both lines, but I do think the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs hold their own enough to make it competitive. The only thing I think that the Chiefs do edge at this minute is that they've been there before. They've both won and lost, and they've got the experience of the big game, and that may just tilt it. They've shown with Jet Chip Wasp, being able to come back in the dying minutes of a game and being able to pull something out of nowhere. They might be in a similar position this week, so I think we'll have a high-scoring game. I want the Eagles to edge it, so I'm gonna go with that. I think they'll edge it a high-scoring game.
Going with his heart. Going with his heart.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Mudge. If I could pick one single player to come out of this weekend with a ring, it would have to be Jordan Mailata for me, because
Yeah,
what a story to come in. Obviously, he had a rugby background from New Zealand, Australia, should I say? And he's an absolute beast. He's playing in what is possibly the hardest position to play in the offensive line at left tackle. He didn't start in that. He's transitioned into that position, and he's been absolutely brilliant. I mean, what a find in the 7th round, but also from his perspective, what are your thoughts on what he's done and how he's starting to progress into one of the most reliable left tackles in the league, I think.
I'm in love with him. I think this will put a stat into it. I think he's only allowed 5 pressures, not even a sack, if I'm correct, in about 100 odd snaps. Like he has quite a decent streak going. It's not Lane Johnson-esque, who's obviously not allowed a sack for maybe 3 years. He's had he's tore his groin as well, and he's still playing. So we have some absolute dogs there, and I think the fair play to Mailata. He obviously came through the international program. He got paid a fairly medium amount of money for an O-line, but when he went up against Bosa, there's videos of him just holding his own. And you know what? It's very difficult for a rugby player to transition into the NFL, because I think a lot of the neutrals who don't watch the NFL just assume because of their size they can make it. To be an O-lineman, to be an elite O-lineman, a lot of it comes down to skills with your hands, locking in and technique and your footwork, and he's managed to lock that all
the footwork
down,
is massively underrated for me. You don't realise to be 24 stone and move around like a lightweight boxer almost. It's impressive.
We went to a few years ago, Tina. We went to that sort of NFL Q&A type thing in Leicester, didn't we?
Dom Craig. Yep.
Yeah. And Martin Johnson, the ex-England Rugby Union captain, World Cup winning captain, was part of the guest lineup, which I know is a little bit random, but he's played both sports. Yep. And he said that, and one of the reasons why he was sort of a part of that, and one of the reasons that he loved American football, was that he said, look, despite playing both the sports, American football, in terms of the technique, in terms of the toll it takes on your body, is so much tougher than rugby.
Yeah.
And I think, like you were mentioning there, like Mudge, with what a lot of people don't realise with that transition, we've seen rugby players go into NFL in different positions across the pitch, and they haven't been able to make that transition. Someone like Martin Johnson, who's won the World Cup at the highest level for his country, has said this sport is so much harder to get right. Is a huge testament to the work that Mailata and the transition that he's made to be probably top 10, top 7 left tackle this season.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to, again, not disrespecting rugby. I'm coming off as a massive rugby hater over here. I'm not. I love it, sort of. But a lot of it comes down to, I think rugby's quite linear in the way that you attack. It's a gradual progression down the field. I think
it's a war of attrition, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I think with the NFL, it comes down to a lot of skill sets being used in different situations. So your run blocking, your technique's different. Pass blocking, it's different. On a screen, as an O-lineman, you've got to, you have to time it perfectly to make sure you block correctly and not get a hold. Like, there are so many little factors that go into it. It's a tactical game. It's a much more tactical game, in my opinion. And if you're an elite player at a position in that sport, that means you can pretty much do everything required from that position to the best of your ability.
I think you're completely right. I mean, it's not only that, even with the coaching, that coach has got to call the right concept for the right situation 95% of the time, otherwise you lose the game.
Yeah, I agree.
So from top down, I completely agree with you. So much more tactical.
It's like chess in terms of your strategy.
Chess, it ain't checkers.
That's it. Adam, Aggie, a question for you, mate, because heading into this Super Bowl, there are 2 players that you've backed quite a lot in terms of the locks, and you've bigged up and have really helped you get some kind of success in the locks in the NFL anyway, and not so much the football, but we'll save that for later. Jerick McKinnon for the Chiefs and Miles Sanders for the Eagles. In terms of the ground games going into this weekend, who do you think has the advantage?
I think the Eagles have the advantage. I think their defensive line is so much stronger. I also think with Miles Sanders, I think he's a much better running back than what the Chiefs have to offer. I know Pacheco's kind of come out a little bit and performed better than what a lot of people would have expected, and you could probably say the same for McKinnon, but he's more of a receiving back as they've used him for. And as I've figured out from my locks being wrong more often than not, that usage has become more and more minimal towards the playoffs and the latter stages. So I think the Eagles, on both sides, to be fair, they've got the better running back, but they've also got the stronger defensive line as well.
From that answer, it sounds like Jeremy McKinnon has deleted your nudes then. Like, he's allowing you to make
yeah, mate,
an
we've
actual...
called it even there now. We're done
yeah,
with that.
fair, because you've been backing that boy like he's got some serious intel on you, mate, over these last few months.
He's not helped me out, though, has he?
I was going to say at the end of this segment, we'll all predict who we think will win by how many points and a touchdown scorer. Okay. So you know that Aggie's still going to back McKinnon, don't you? But we'll save it. We'll save it as always.
Or McKinnon and backup Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah, yes. Honorary mention. It's been picked up somehow earlier today. Kemp, you're a big fan of the drip. You're a big fan of the swag, and you love a podcast and you love a story. Kelsey brothers are becoming the first brothers to ever face off in a Super Bowl in history. They've both got swag for very different reasons, depending on your taste and your preferences. But Jason and Travis both have a ring each already. Who do you think will end the weekend as the Kelsey brother with more than one ring?
I would love nothing more than to back my boy Mudge and say that the Eagles are going to win their second Den Super Bowl. Let's say we were both there for the first one, and I think me and Mudge were rolling around on the floor when they won the game.
No, that wasn't because of the football, that mate. That was
well, yeah, that's it. That was
unadulterated shagging that.
Yeah, and then we looked up and then
realized just avoiding me, to be honest. But
I'd love nothing more than to recreate that moment, maybe apart from Tina's escapades. But I honestly think that Travis Kelce will be the happier Kelce at the end of the weekend, at the end of the festivities. He's been an unstoppable force, it seems, this season, and the amount of times I've looked at him for my lock in terms of my scorer for the week, and he's done me well a few times when I have. He's a generational talent. I'm not saying that Jason isn't. He's a fantastic player as well, of course, but I think the position that Travis plays it's much more of an impact position. It gets a lot more credit and it gets a lot more eyes on it. You know, you probably name more famous tight ends than you can name centers in the NFL, probably in terms of the history. But yeah, I mean, even so, I think Travis is going to come away with the win, and unfortunately for Mudge, the ring as well. So I've got a quick question for everybody though before we do move on, because it was going to be. Or I was going to try and throw it in at the end, but it seems as though Dawson's got a more sensible one, so we'll go with that one. It's not a ridiculous one, but it's always a nice something to predict and something that a lot of people drop a lot of money on. The Americans, they like a bet sometimes, and they like a bet on the strangest things. And one of the things on Super Bowl weekend is when a team looks like it's nearly won or they've just won, the players tend to get a big bucket of Gatorade, which is obviously the sponsor of the game, and they'll pour it all over the head coach to celebrate the win. So I'm going to go around the group. and I'm going to ask everybody to predict what colour they think the Gatorade will be that is poured over the winning coach. Tina, I'll start with you.
I am going to go for blue.
Blue. Tina's gone for blue. Okay, nice. Dawson?
It's a blue for dads.
Yeah, see, you've got to predict which team you think will win and then what colour you think they'll go. So I've got a colour in mind for each team.
Okay.
But I don't want to spoil who I think will win by the colour. So I'm going to go...
Well, why don't you just say what your colour is for both teams?
Well, okay. Colour is blue for Eagles, orange for Chiefs. But I'll save for when we get to the end for who I think
Break it down. Break down why you've got the colour for each when you.
I don't know. I'm thinking unis. I'm thinking. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fine. No, I get that. Adam, I'm assuming you're going to go for some sort of beige colour.
No, mate, I'm going orange. Always
going orange.
Going orange.
Okay.
Yeah. A very dull orange.
Yes.
Yeah, very.
Almost beige in colour.
Yeah.
Just plain water.
Here's an interesting one for you. Yellow/green is 2-1 favourite.
Interesting.
Wow.
Interesting.
Mudge, don't let that cloud your judgment. Who are you going with? What colour are you going with and why?
To be honest, mate, I just want to. What's your problem? Like, you invite me onto Loaded Sport again, and you choose the Chiefs. Mate, what's going on there?
I'll break it down in more detail when we decide our score.
Well, I'm looking forward to that, mate, because that's dampened my spirit. Nah, I'm going clear with Gatorade. By the way,
you're going clear.
Clear.
Yeah, I think it'll be
15-2 outsider.
You know why?
Good Scientologist, Mudge is going clear.
I think because hear me out. This will sound really really conspiracy theory, but obesity levels in America are at an all-time high, and I think they're going to try and promote the low sugar Gatorade.
So I think they're going to try and use Andy Reid as an anti-obesity mascot.
Yeah, we should be talking. Yeah, we shouldn't be talking about colour Gatorade. We should be talking about what hamburger is Andy Reid going to have if they win.
Go to the Gatorade. I mean, it's just fucking Wendy's wrappers just pour out on it.
Just big gulps from 7-Eleven.
Yeah, I think they're definitely going to go clear. In counter to Kemp's question, I assume everyone's answered. They are taking bets on what the first Rihanna song is going to be. Now,
I've got the music.
Yeah, well, look, hear me out.
Irony.
There is a lad at work who claims that he has a friend that is a backup dancer for Rihanna this weekend, and he has given a tip, right? He has given a tip for the first song to be "Bitch Better Have My Money."
No.
Yeah, and he's given an honourable mention to "Don't Stop the Music." Skin. So
there you go. It's happening, mate.
This is a fucking fixed tennis game again. This.
well, if we're ready to lose money, then we know what to bet on. So,
put your mortgage on. Please don't stop the music. That is going to be the one. I'm telling you now.
Yeah,
I'll put it on record.
I can't find the market, which is unusual.
On Sky Bet, I think they said. I'll send the screenshot in afterwards, but. Yeah, an interesting shout. Some random lad from London has got the inside knowledge on what's going to take place in Arizona this Sunday.
Interestingly, Better Have My Money is evens and Don't Stop Music 6-4.
Wow!
Coming in clutch.
It's been absolutely hammered in.
Ask him for his lottery numbers, quick.
Can we get what's closing this set? That might be a bit more value. But
the last song is
Sunflower
Diamonds.
Diamonds
11-8 on.
Interesting. Someone's been watching some sound checks and stuff, haven't they? But there's always links somewhere. Tina, you're very much a big fan of the strategy and the tactics and what happens off the pitch is as important as what happens on the pitch. We've spoken a lot about
our on-field product is fucking depressing. So
so you've had to focus on what's happening off the field that's causing that. But we've spoken about difference makers on the pitch and where the matchup can be won. But Andy Reid, we all know his career and what he's done, and Nick Sirianni in his first Super Bowl having a fantastic season, did coach in several different positions for the Chiefs, but never under Andy Reid. He was at Chiefs 2009 to 2012, and then Reid came in the season that he left in 2013. So they've never worked together. But do you think that Chiefs have a massive advantage with having Andy Reid on the sideline? And do you think that Nick Sirianni has what it takes to step up to that spotlight in the biggest game of them all?
A massive advantage, I think, is airing on disrespect to Sirianni. I think he's done a fantastic job with Chiefs. He's been a great hire. I really do. But saying that, it's Andy Reid. You know, he's won a Super Bowl. He's got an excellent record, excellent reputation, bit of an offensive genius. So I do think they've got an advantage. I do. But Sirianni's definitely got enough in the locker, mate, to pull it out of the bag. I mean, this Eagles team weren't particularly great a year ago. He's turned it around. Interesting, I know both teams have scored the same amount of points this season, which is really fucking weird. But it's going to be an interesting coaching battle. I think that's one area where you have to give the edge to the Chiefs, but it's not a massive chasm. I mean, you've got Eric Bieniemy, you've got Steve Spagnuolo. I know the coordinators for the Eagles, Gannon and Steve, are relatively inexperienced compared to those two. So Yeah, I would give the edge to the Chiefs on those.
Fair one. So, I suppose, unless Aggie, you've got any more subjects or questions you want to cover?
No, mate, let's go for it.
Okay, so we will go with team you think will win, the points difference in which you think they will win, a touchdown scorer prediction, and a bold prediction for the game as a whole. Okay, so Kemp, we'll start with you, mate.
Ooh, putting me under pressure now for that bold prediction pick. I've pretty much got everything else sorted.
I want to save Mudge till the end,
Okay.
you see. So.
No, that makes sense. So I am gonna a bookend, maybe a controversial take in Mudge's eyes, and I apologise already. But I have said in previous comments that I think the Kansas City Chiefs will win the Super Bowl this season. And Tina, did you slightly touched on it there? I think in the end it will come down to experience. These games, it's the brightest lights. You know, it doesn't get any bigger than this. Mahomes has been there before many times already, and he's not even that old. Andy Reid has been there before. He knows what to do in these high pressure situations. I think it will be a close game. I think it will be a tight game. But I think that experience in those big games, you can do stuff in regular season games that you can't do in the Super Bowl. The stuff that you just can't get away with. So I think that's where it will come down. I think they're very, very even in terms of the on-field personnel. Mudge, you made an excellent point at the top of the segment saying, you know, position by position, they're probably 50-50 in terms of where the Eagles are stronger and where the Chiefs are stronger. But ultimately, I think that X factor in the end does come down to that experience and the fact that the Chiefs have been there before and they've won and they've lost and they know what it takes to win that game. So I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs to win. I am going to go, again, it's going to be a close game. I think they'll win by 3. I think it will be that close. And I've just backed him, so I'm going to back him again. I've backed him a few times this season. I think Travis Kelce will be the anytime touchdown scorer. My bold prediction, and again, this is something that I am struggling a little bit with because, yeah, it's a tough one, especially when it's just about one game. But I don't agree with Tina that it will be a high-scoring affair. I think it will be nip and tuck, and I think it will be tight. So I think overall, in terms of overall match game points, and you can decide whether you think this is a bold prediction or not, but no more than 35 points by both teams the entire game.
Yeah.
If that's not bold enough, then I'll go
I think that's fairly bold, high-powered offenses.
Yeah. I just think, like I say, you can't get away with taking risks that you can in maybe a regular season game. So I think it'll be a lot more reserved than a lot of people think. Do I think it'll be less than 35 points? No, but it's a bold prediction. But I don't think it'll be as high as people are possibly predicting. So there you go.
Fair enough. Aggie, what about you, mate?
I'm going with Eagles to win by 6. I think looking all over, like what Mudge said at the very beginning, the Chiefs do have the better quarterback, but I think looking across both teams, the Eagles are the stronger side, and I think they're going to have more than enough to beat the Chiefs. I think A.J. Brown's going to be the anytime touchdown scorer for me. I know I normally go for Jerick McKinnon, so you can now bank on Jerick McKinnon to score a touchdown. And my bold prediction is that the first score in the entirety of the game will be scored by a defensive player.
Nice.
Why is he on the show?
Is that not a bold prediction?
It's bad, isn't it? No, it's fine, mate. It's fine.
It's fine, mate.
Tina, what about you, mate?
So I'm going to stick with prediction earlier. So I'm going to go Eagles. I think they win by a field goal. I think Boston Scott might score.
Oh, okay.
Which is
That's a great shout.
Yeah, I think the Super Bowls you do tend to get these like odd fucking obscure scorers that don't really produce that much the rest of the season. I think Boston Scott might just get a look in. Now, I've had a look at the teams both the points both teams have scored and conceded throughout the season, and the average points per game is 49. So I think they're going to exceed that and I think they might end up the highest scoring Super Bowl ever.
Ooh.
That'd be my bold prediction. Now,
Wow.
The previous Eagles Super Bowl is in second place with 74.
Wow.
The current top scorer is 75 points from when the 49ers beat the Chargers 49-26 in Super Bowl 29. So I'm hoping we get something like a 43-40, something like that. I think it could go catastrophically high.
That's fair.
Two high-powered offenses. I know both have got good defenses, but I think the offenses win the day. That's
fair. Now, every year I'm relatively confident in terms of who I feel will win this, and this year every time I think about it, I'm changing my mind. Even now, while you lads have been talking, I'm still not 100% sure who I'm going to go with. So, push has come to shove. So I am going to predict, and I'm going to say that Chiefs win. And Mudge, I'm so sorry because I want Eagles to win, but Chiefs win by 10. I'm going to go for an AJ Brown touchdown for the Eagles. And my bold prediction is that neither Mahomes nor Hurts lift the MVP trophy at the end of the game.
Ooh.
Like that?
Yeah, that's bold.
I'm thinking of Travis Kelce MVP, but
one thing I think we can say is he's shaping up to be the most competitive Super Bowl we've had for a while.
Yeah, and that's why I've struggled
razor
so hard.
thin, and I think it's going to be fucking brilliant.
I'll make a point. I'll make a point to your prediction, Skin. If Travis Kelce obviously balls out, I know for a fact the media, everyone is going to heap that on Mahomes more than they will Kelce.
Yeah, I know, and that's the thing. Now, Mudge, obviously, before we get into your predictions, because you are the main event, being an Eagles fan, lads. You know I'm like for surprises. You know what I'm like for I live for the pop. So before we get your
terribly impulsive.
Yes, mate, terribly. Before we get your prediction, Mudge, there's one man's prediction that we've got to get on the Loaded Sport Super Bowl preview. Sam, how are you, mate?
Oh, baby.
Nah. Don't invite the
baby.
I know it's his show, but don't invite the curse on here, mate. Like, that man has tribal juju running through his veins. Honestly,
unfortunately, boys, the Grim Reaper has come.
Yes, he's back.
For the Philadelphia Eagles.
No.
Mudge, before we close off with your predictions, Sam, your prediction, your score deficit, your touchdown scorer, and your bold prediction for the Super Bowl.
Death has come for the Eagles as I swoop in and back the Philadelphia Eagles to beat the Kansas City Chiefs by 10 with Sanders bagging a rushing touchdown. Thank you very much.
Somebody get in touch with Cat and tell him not to let him fling himself off the balcony. Fucking hell.
Have you got a bold prediction for the game, Sam?
Bold prediction is for Nick Sirianni to slip over when he gets his Gatorade bath.
Fair enough.
What colour do you think his Gatorade bath will be, Sam?
Oh yeah, we need that in there.
I'm going to go clear. Boring. It's been clear.
That's favourite.
That's the third one.
Yeah. A lot of people thinking clear. Yeah, Adam thinking beige.
Beige?
Yeah, it's explain why.
I went orange, but...
It's good to have you here, Sam, for the main event, which is Mudge's hopefully impartial predictions for the game on Sunday.
Can I give some context as to the viewers, why I'm absolutely gutted that Sam White has vocally... I've seen Sam White give directions to a kid to cross the road. It was a zebra crossing. He said, "Go on, lad, you're safe." The kid crossed the road. He got hit by a lorry. Like, this is the kind of juju we're dealing with here. Like, it's just, the amount of times. Oh, all right.
He is part voodoo doctor, isn't he?
Mate, I've never seen anything like it. But Thank you for coming on, mate. I genuinely appreciate it. I know it's done out of love.
Let's see you, Inter. Let's see you.
It's not done out of love, mate. He just wanted to say Eagles win, just fuck with you. we're all at a wedding.
Yeah, it don't matter, to be honest. The weekend's going to be off to a terrible start with a wedding anyway.
At least you've got the wedding to look forward to.
Yeah,
Mudge will be sat in corner just thinking about the fact Sam said Eagles. Everyone's wondering what's up with him.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah, exactly that.
Okay, so I think the Eagles will win. 10 was the number I had in mind as well, so I'm a bit worried about that now. I'm gonna go with the Eagles win by 9. I'm gonna go a bit off the radar, off the record here. I think in terms of who bags, I'm gonna go Jalen Hurts rushing touchdown. And I think in regards to, so what is it you asked for? You asked for score. You asked for how much?
By how many touchdown and bold prediction. Yeah.
I think the bold prediction is Rihanna has a nip slip and we see a bit of boob.
McCann but hope.
Yeah. So I think Rihanna's going to wear something really like
risque.
Well, it took us 29 episodes, but we're finally getting cancelled. Thank you, everybody.
No, I mean, because obviously Super Bowl's a big show. Like, it could be something a bit out there. Yeah, I mean, no, do you know what I mean? She's gonna be going out. So, and Rihanna is a beautiful woman. Like, you know, flaunt what you got, girl. But I think she might flaunt a bit too much on national TV. So, yeah, I think the Eagles win by 9. Jalen Hurts rushing touchdown and nip slip.
What do you think of my opinion that Rihanna is just a fucking beat at Beyonce?
Do you know what? Over the years, I used to follow the Beyonce hype, but I have to say I'm more of a Rihanna fan than I am Beyonce. I think Rihanna is much more genuine, and I think
so's Jay-Z by all accounts.
But I would like to add an additional note. I've heard a lot of this experience. I think it literally doesn't matter for anything when it comes to Super Bowl because it's the biggest game of the season. I think whoever wins it is going to be the bravest person. Like Doug Peterson going for it on 4th down with a Philly special was a prime example against Belichick and Brady. I think Sirianni is made of the right stuff. And Reed is phenomenal at just scheming Kelsey and all of his other players open. So there's going to be a worry about that. But I think if we're in the Super Bowl, I think Sirianni is going to go full guns blazing. He always goes down for it on 4th and short. So it's going to be stressful. It's even more stressful now that Sam's made a prediction. So yeah, I'll see you boys on Saturday and then Sunday.
Death has come for the second brother.
I do agree to an extent, but I think if you've been in that situation before, that fucking pressure cooker situation, you're going to know what to expect. You're going to know what to deal with. I'm not saying the Eagles won't deal with it, but it could be a factor.
I would agree if Mahomes was unbeaten in the Super Bowl, but we saw him get absolutely demolished by that Bucs D-line.
As we fucking discussed earlier, his passer rating in the Super Bowl is worse than Rex Grossman's. And that boy was a bag of shit.
Someone had to watch him, mate, and unfortunately it was you.
It's
so
me.
No wonder.
Of course it was me. Yeah, it was fucking me. Staying up till 4 o'clock in the morning watching him piss away another chance.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Appreciate you taking one for the team. But look, lads, we say it's the best Sunday of the year, and that's for a lot of people. But I tell you what, playing American football on Sunday, like we always do every year for it, getting a nap in, getting a rest, and all getting in the den, cuddled up in his comfies, having some snacks, having a big order, and watching it all unfold. I can't wait to see you, lads, and I can't wait to see what happens. Because like you said, Tina, it's razor thin on what way it could go this year, and it should be an absolute cracker. So I, for one, can't wait. But we'll see what happens, and we'll try and review it come the next week.
I want to add one final thing. It's unbelievable watching the Super Bowl with you boys in the den, but nothing beats watching. Obviously, we play with quite a special case called George Dislins. Nothing beats watching him drop every ball thrown at him on a Sunday morning. So I agree with you there.
Yeah, Adam's licking his lips at the thought of lining up opposite him on Sunday, but we'll see what happens. We'll have to record some stats. But yeah. That's the preview for the biggest game in sport, bigger than the World Cup. And I don't care if you don't like it, come at me. Don't at me. Don't give a shit. But we'll be back shortly for what is the debut edition of Kempy's Combat Corner.
Let's go.
Welcome back to episode 29 of Loaded Sport. It is now time for the debut of Kempy's Combat Corner with special guest Chris Marina. So, Kemp, over to you.
Thank you very much, Adam, and I'm delighted to welcome everybody to Kempy's first Combat Corner, featuring our very special guest this evening, Chris Marina.
How are we doing?
Are you looking forward to the fights this weekend? I know me and yourself have briefly discussed the lack of depth, perhaps, on the card. So, what are your thoughts going into this weekend's UFC festivities? We'll start with the UFC.
Definitely looking forward to the main event.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a premium matchup. Two great fighters. Obviously, Volkanovski is looking for the 2-weight world champ.
Mm-hmm.
Islam is obviously from that corner of Russia that, well, they just seem to produce fighters at a ridiculous amount.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, though, you know, anything past that doesn't really get you too excited, does it? I mean,
no.
You got Josh Emmett, who is 103.
At least.
Yeah.
All due respect. At least.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, he's on a great run, but you know, there's not much star power after that one.
No, you're absolutely right, and that's sort of my thoughts exactly. Am I right in thinking as well that it's for the interim featherweight title? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So you've got an interim featherweight title fight when you've got the undisputed featherweight champion fighting in the main event against a lightweight champion for double champ status. I don't know if you'll agree with me, but it kind of seems like it's, I don't know, forced in there. Like they've put the interim title on the line purely to maybe draw a little bit more attention to it.
100%. And I think it begs the question, why isn't the featherweight champ defending his belt?
Well, I suppose he's gone up to lightweight. I mean, Yair Rodriguez and Josh Emmett, do you look at either of those and think they're ready?
No.
You know? So why, you know, I get why they've done it. Obviously, it's for the promotion, but you know, I don't think anybody's going to look at the card and think, right, okay, I'm going to buy the pay-per-view purely for the fact that there's an interim title on the line.
Yeah,
so
I completely agree.
For me, they could have just said, right, let's have Yair and Josh in the co-main event. You know, they're fighting just before the featherweight champ fights. You know, regardless of what happens in this fight, you know, in the main event, unless Volkanovski wins and decides to move up to 155, you know, one of those guys, whoever wins it, is going to get the next shot regardless. Do you have to put the interim title on the line for that? I don't think so.
No, it's a title eliminator.
Yeah.
He's flashing up. He's flashing it up to add depth to an unexciting card.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. But having said that, we move now, and I am going to quickly go through the rest of the card. So the main card for this evening, for this weekend's festivities, is in Australia, but it is at normal UFC running time in the UK, which is the main card will start at 3 a.m. So if you're a night owl, you might stay up for this one. We've got Jimmy Crute opening the card against Alonzo Minefield. The next fight on the card is Justin Taffer, whose record is actually quite funny. It's 5 wins, 3 losses, no draws, and he's on the main card of a premium UFC event, and he's fighting a guy called Parker Porter, who looks a little bit like, do you remember Gilbert from the WWF?
Yes.
Looks a little bit like Gilbert. So I'm looking forward to that one. But having done a little bit of research on that, apparently they are both a little bit swing heavy, and they are going to both come out swinging. So, you know, if all else fails, we might get a bit of a slugfest, which will be nice.
That's it, isn't it? Two heavyweight fighters. That's all you can hope for, really.
That's it. So we've got in the welterweight division, Jack Della Maddalena against Randy Brown. Again, neither of those two really, you know, towards the top end of the welterweight rankings. So it would be a great win for either, you know, try and push themselves into the top echelons. But yeah, it's not a drawing fight, put it that way. No. And then in the co-main event, as we've just discussed, it is Yair Rodriguez versus Josh Emmett for the interim featherweight championship of the world. which leads in to the main event and really the only thing that saves this card from being possibly one of the worst UFC cards ever. It's the UFC undisputed lightweight champion of the world. He's just won his lightweight title after beating Charles do Bronx Oliveira in convincing fashion. Islam Makhachev versus Alexander the Great, the hometown boy, the Aussie himself, Alexander the Great Volkanovski. Now, these fighters, they've got very impressive records, 23 wins, 1 defeat, 0 draws for Islam Makhachev. Only defeat coming from, let's be honest, it was a bloody haymaker that he took and just didn't quite recover in time. It was a freak shot, I would say, and you know, anybody's susceptible to one of those in the game. Against Alexander Volkanovski, who I think is unbeaten in 22, and he's unbeaten in his entire UFC career. Yep. So I'm going to come to you, Tina, before I give my thoughts on this. Who do you see coming away with the belt?
I personally think this has got Islam decision just written all over it. Mm-hmm. Okay. I think 2 excellent fighters, but I think obviously the weight advantage, the size advantage of Islam will allege it to him. I hope he's going to live up to its billing, and I hope we get a 5-round war, and it's fantastic and everything else. But yeah, I think he'll edge it just for those reasons. What about you?
Yeah, no, and I don't actually think it will be. I think the 5-round war would be amazing. Of course, it would. I don't think it will be. The biggest concern I've got, and coming into fight week, you know, ever since the fight was announced, I've always thought Islam Makhachev was going to win this fight. You know, he cuts a significant amount of weight to get down to 155. And bear in mind, Volkanovski is the current 145 champion. You know, these are from 2 different weight classes. But realistically, if Islam Makhachev changed his diet a little bit, could he fight at welterweight? I think he could quite easily, and I don't think he'd be that undersized. So there's a massive gulf in weight when they get into the cage. I think it'll be at least 10, 15 pounds when they get into the cage on the night. So for that reason, and obviously Islam's extreme superiority when it comes to the ground game and the grappling, I think it's got an Islam win written all over it. But I was trying to make a case for it, Alexander Volkanovski, in my head coming into fight week. Excuse me. But then I watched one of the UFC embedded videos where it's basically, if anybody isn't quite sure of that, it's sort of a short 10-minute YouTube documentary of all the fighters and how they're preparing on fight week for the actual event itself. And Volkanovski, I think he mentioned a few times, either in the Countdown, which is like a longer documentary, or in the Embedded series, that, you know, he thinks his wrestling's, you know, good as well, I think is the way that he phrased it. And that's great. But when you follow Islam Makhachev's wrestling is good, but mine is good as well, that suggests to me that you think you're on that level. And unfortunately, there are very few people on this planet that are on that level. So, I don't know. I hope for Volkanovski's sake, he doesn't think that he can take any chances on the ground. I hope he doesn't think that when he does get taken down, because he will get taken down, it's inevitable that he will get taken down, that he can do something maybe off his back or try and find, you know, a sneaky submission out of somewhere, because it's just not going to happen.
No, so it's going to end badly.
It is. So I will go for an Islam Makhachev, probably 3rd round submission, I think. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was a guillotine choke, because Brian Ortega got him in a pretty nasty one. And I think Islam Makhachev, if he gets him in that, I don't think Islam is going to let go. So that's my prediction for the UFC. I'm now going to quickly, before we move on to the Six Nations, just very, very quickly have a chat about boxing, because this is Kempy's Fight Corner. It's not all about MMA. We are going to throw a little bit of boxing in there for you as well. Now, Tina, you are admittedly an Anthony Joshua fan. It was announced a couple of days ago that he will be fighting Jermaine Franklin on April the 1st in the O2 Arena. I think it was the face-off and the press conference today. Just give us your thoughts on this. Do you think it's a good fight for AJ to come back with? What do you think about the matchmaking and ultimately how it's going to go down?
Yeah, I think it is. It's a tune-up fight, you know, as we discussed the other night. You know, I think he has got to rebuild himself. I think ever since the Joseph Parker fight, he's not quite looked himself. He seems to be missing that sort of killer instinct. You know, don't get me wrong, I love watching him fight. But yeah, I think Jermaine Franklin, took Dillian White to a tough decision. He's got a pretty solid record. He's beat some decent fighters along the way. Don't get me wrong, he's not a top name, but I think he's exactly the kind of fight that AJ need. I think it might play out similar to the Pulev fight. So, I think we'll see a more aggressive AJ, get quite a late stoppage, but he'll give him some trouble along the way.
And I do get why they've done it. Don't get me wrong. Taking all my predisposed opinions of boxing away for a second and putting my boxing fan brain on, I can understand why they've done it. It's a short, stocky guy who, took Dillian White to a close decision. A lot of people thought that he won that fight, but he's perfect for AJ. AJ can stay on the end of his punches if he wants to. He's not going to get through, he's not going to get past that reach advantage. And at the same time, hopefully AJ can pick up a little bit of momentum and really tee off on Franklin and get a convincing knockout so that after the event, everybody's like, okay, AJ's back. So I can understand why they've done it. But my question to you, and this is sort of very, very briefly before we move on, do you not think, and this is me taking my boxing brain out and putting my combat sports brain back on, do you not think it would be, yes, a much higher risk, but a little bit more interesting, a little bit more intriguing if we saw AJ's comeback fight against a Dillian White or a Deontay Wilder? And the reason that I say that is because Eddie Hearn, God knows how many times, has said, AJ wants the toughest challenges. He's come back and fought Usyk straight away. He don't want to hide. He don't want to run. Then get back in. Let's get these big fights going straight away. Let's do it. What do you not think there's any value in that? Or
I agree with you to an extent, but I will say one thing. One thing you can never knock AJ for is dodging a fight. He has took on a lot more challenges than other fighters have. But yes, okay, we'd like to see the Dillian White rematch. Definitely, we'd like to see him fight Wilder. Where's the commercial value in it at the minute? Because it's probably at the lowest it's ever been. Dillian White coming off the back of losing to Fury, and obviously just beating Franklin. AJ's had his struggles against Usyk. If he rebuilds himself, makes himself look like a contender again, makes himself look like a danger in the division, the money's there to be had. And that Wilder fight is potentially a huge financial fight because everybody wants to see it.
But does beating Jermaine Franklin getting back to that position, does it? Because, after this fight, what I would want to see, even if, even putting my boxing brain back on, after this fight, what I would want to see is AJ fight somebody not Jermaine Franklin's level. I would want, Joe Joyce is top of the tree. Yeah. So if we're getting him back to that level, I'd rather him, if we are going to do that, then I'd rather him fight Franklin, beat Franklin, and then get him in with Wilder, then get him in with White, because I think that you mentioned their commercial value. I'm sure there's going to be more commercial value in Joshua against Dillian White too, or especially Joshua against Wilder. So I think that would personally be the way to go. But you are right, and I think a fight against Joe Joyce would be very interesting. Just out of curiosity, before we do move on, if Joshua should come through this fight against Franklin, if he does, and if he does fight Joe Joyce next, who do you think wins that fight? Because I think that's a very, very close call.
Yeah, I agree. I think with how things stand at the minute, I don't think you could look past Joyce. He's looked dangerous. He's very methodical. He's slow, but he's powerful and he's got an amazing chin. The one thing he's got over Joshua clearly is his cardio.
And the fundamentals. You look at Joe Joyce, he's not the most interesting and entertaining fighter, but his fundamentals are absolutely solid. In that fight against Dubois, he just jabbed his face off for 8-9 rounds and just made him quit. So it would be a very, very interesting fight. Well, thank you very much, Tina, for joining me on Kempy's Combat Corner.
No problem. It's been a pleasure.
Next, we are going to talk about the Six Nations in the rugby.
Welcome back to episode 29 of Loaded Sport. We're now going to move on to start talking about the second week of the Six Nations taking place this weekend, starting with one of the games that a lot of people have seen as the decisive game as to who's going to go on and win the Six Nations. So, Mudge, I'm going to start by talking to you about it. Ireland against France.
Probably two of the strongest teams in the tournament. I think my pick before the tournament started, I think I picked France. just because of their success from last year. I think it will be the best game of the weekend, and I've got a bit of a kind of, how would you say it, like a bit of a relationship with the Irish. I've got a lot of Irish clients at work, so I'm pulling for Ireland to win in the hope that I get more business. But a heavyweight battle, and hoping Ireland do France over.
Yeah, that's followed up a couple of hours later by Scotland against Wales. Scotland won quite convincingly in their first game. Wales, the exact opposite.
Yeah, I think Scotland benefited from England. England obviously have Borthwick, who's a brand new head coach for them. I think they're still getting used to it. Scotland played their hearts out, to be fair. I think you would consider last weekend's result a shock. I think they've got a good chance against the Welsh. The Welsh played hard against Ireland, but they looked second best throughout the whole game. I mean, if I had to choose out the two, I'd probably edge it towards Wales, just because of history and Scotland beating England. Is that a one-off? Are they going to back it up? I'm not sure they do. So I'd edge it to Wales in that matchup.
Right, and then on Sunday, the final game of the weekend, England against Italy, the two sides that both have a point on the board already. England, of course, heading into the tournament under new management, didn't start how they'd have liked against Scotland. Can you see this maybe being a turnaround for England?
I think they have to be honest. Italy are the joke of the tournament. They've always been the joke for pretty much the start of it since its inception. Italy played really well against France last week. I think France obviously managed to nab it from them in the 60th minute and managed to hold on. But Italy played with heart. I think a lot of pressure falls on England in terms of the style that they play, the way that they play. Obviously, like I mentioned, Borthwick's just come in. He's got to kind of put his stamp on the game. I think they've got to blow Italy out to kind of give the fans hope that they've actually got a chance still in the Six Nations, and especially with it being Rugby World Cup year, you really need to see England be consistent. Otherwise, it could be a short tournament for them in France later this year as well.
And I know last week when we put our predictions forward as to who we thought was going to win the Six Nations, you weren't with us at the time, but you did get in touch on the Loaded Sport community page. So thank you for that. Just a quick one to yourself. Was it France you went for on there?
Yeah, I think my initial pick was France, mate, because
it was France to win it, Ireland make it difficult, and England are cheeks, I think was your exact comment.
Yeah. Well, I think it's gone that way, isn't it, so far?
I
think, it's after week one, I would probably, if you were to ask me to choose again, I wouldn't change my answer, but I'd be really strongly inclined to go for Ireland if I had to, because, I mean, they look really good. And I think they're heavy favourites for the Rugby World Cup coming up as well. So I think they're looking to start the year off strong with a Six Nations dub. But I will stick with France. England are cheeks, but they've got to turn it around.
Well, it probably comes down to this game between Ireland and France as to who's going to win it. I've not seen anybody pick anyone other than Ireland or France. It is in Dublin. Ireland are the favourites. However, France have won against Ireland in the last 3 Six Nations, so they have got the sort of recent head-to-head record against them. So, yeah, you would assume that whoever wins this game on Saturday would go on to win the tournament and probably give themselves a lot of confidence going into that World Cup in September. But I can't really see.
I think sorry to cut you off there. I think with Ireland, a lot of this went under radar, but their autumn fixture run up was quite pivotal for them, I think, for their form, because they beat South Africa at home. I think they got a really positive result against the All Blacks as well. So I mean, they've come in really firing on all cylinders, and I think I agree with you. This will be the decider. I think, if I'm honest, that's what makes the Six Nations quite one-dimensional, is the fact that there are more or less either 2 really good teams battling it out, 2 mid teams, and then 2 really bum teams.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you that, because yes, it's the Six Nations. There's 6 teams involved. It's not a huge tournament in terms of amount of games, but when it's round 2, and you're kind of saying, well, whoever wins this game is winning the tournament.
Yeah.
It kind of takes the prestige away from it.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I don't know whether you think the same as as a bit more of a rugby fan, but
I think so. I think the Six Nations is quite a generational thing. So you've got the generation that obviously grew up watching rugby, who just love it to kind of to bits. I think, if I'm honest, I see the Six Nations kind of dying out with the newer generation kind of growing up watching it. I think not saying rugby isn't popular at all. I just think the atmosphere and the fans that watch it right now are quite what you'd call a senior generation. So unless they change the format and make it maybe a bit more attractive to the younger audience, I kind of see it dwindling out a little bit. I will say this, I wouldn't call myself a diehard rugby fan, but I do watch the sport. I think the Rugby World Cup setup is phenomenal. I think it's so engaging. It's exactly like, I mean, it is the football version of the World Cup, isn't it? Like, it's just an unbelievable tournament setup. And I think for like we said, the Six Nations setup needs to change. I think maybe get more countries involved. Otherwise, I think it just becomes a bit stagnant at some point.
Surely and again, this is from you mentioned there that you're not a ridiculously rugby massive fan, but you do follow the sport. Me, from an outsider's perspective, it seems strange to France, Italy, fair enough. But, does Spain not have a rugby team? I don't know how big rugby is in those sort of countries. I don't know. But, bringing Australia, New Zealand, the other type of rugby teams, I don't know if West Indies have got a rugby team, but I know All Blacks and...
They do cricket, don't they? You went random as fuck.
Well, they do cricket, don't they? So it's that's my logic. That's how much I don't know.
Are you just picking random teams from Brian Lara's cricket from 1980?
Yeah. What a fucking game, by the way. Let's not move on from that without giving it.
It is a solid game.
But you can't bring South Africa and New Zealand and Australia into it, I don't think. So could you do, let's say, for example, another couple of European teams who maybe aren't very good and get 8 teams involved and then do like a bracket format? Do you think that would work, or do you think that would sort of fall on its arse as well?
I would say... I don't want to offend any of the diehard rugby fans that are listening. From my understanding, the Six Nations comes from a deep history, in terms of its inception. So I think obviously those Six Nations were probably part of, I don't know, maybe being the co-founding nations to play rugby. So I mean, that's what I'm saying.
It started as the Five Nations, to be fair. Up until 2000, 99, 2000, something like that.
Yeah. So, like I said, I don't exactly know the ins and outs of it. So, while I think that they definitely need to change the format, it also, I think, will prove difficult to do so because of the deep history behind it.
Yeah. Okay. So, what do you think then if the Six Nations does sort of fall by the wayside, as you mentioned there? If it does, and there's no guarantee that it will, what do you think they could bring in as maybe a bit of a replacement for it that would keep the home nations fans engaged and that would keep the international rugby fans entertained while there's not a World Cup on? Because clearly there's not a problem with the Rugby World Cup. That does draw quite a lot of attention. And to be fair, like I say, I'm not a rugby fan, but I will watch the Rugby World Cup. So what do you think they could potentially replace that with? What do you think is a viable alternative for the Six Nations?
So I think, like I said, I think at this moment in time, they're still... The sport is still very popular, and I think it's because of a generational thing. So I won't put I will put a number on it. I think from pretty much your 35-year-olds, maybe like your 50, 60-year-olds at this moment in time who have grown up with the sport and just diehard rugby fans, I'm just kind of foreseeing and forecasting 20 years down the line. I don't see rugby being as popular as it is right now, and I think that's obviously because of a generational thing. For me, for example, I watch it because my partner is heavily involved in it. If she wasn't, I mean, I'd watch it a little bit, but I wouldn't really give too much of a fuck about it, to put it lightly. But at the same time, I do respect that it's an exciting sport for others, but for me, it's one of the reasons I love the NFL. I just saw a different alternative to it and a much more tactical approach. So Yeah, I mean, in terms of what was your question again?
I was saying, what would it be replaced by? So if the Six Nations were to fall by the wayside, like I say, you can't just have the Rugby World Cup on its own, because then you'd probably be waiting quite a while for there to be the next thing to watch as a rugby fan. So what would you replace it with?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure, because I think in terms of the nations that play it, there are a select few that are considered elite. So off the top of my head, South Africa, Ireland, Australia, England, West Indies, yeah, can't forget them. I think it'd be very obviously the way they try, and it is very difficult for example, like an England to go to New Zealand for a weekend and then come back, or for the Australians to come back for a weekend and then go. So I'd say every 2 years, if they did a tournament with all the nations involved, that wasn't a World Cup. It was a slightly smaller format. So the elite, maybe, 24 would play it out, or the elite 12 would play it out. And then they'd have a winner every 2 years. And then obviously with the Rugby World Cup, do it at a bigger scale.
Yeah, so like the Euros then. So like the Euros in football,
yeah.
where you bring in a smaller...
Yeah. I think that would definitely keep it going. I think with the rugby, they try and keep momentum going by obviously doing the autumns. But to be honest, they're friendly games. Like, there's only so much you can kind of get invested into it, considering it's not really a fully competitive game and you're not playing for anything except for kind of the bragging rights. So, I do think I think rugby have a chance to kind of commercialize themselves a bit more with changing the formats of their existing tournaments.
Yeah, we'll see.
Lads, thank you very much for your insight. I look forward to seeing just what happens on this weekend's Six Nations. In just a few moments' time, we're back to speak about the second week of the Darts Premier League. Welcome back to episode 29 of Loaded Sport. We're now entering into the second week of the Darts Premier League. Skin, it's looking to be another big week.
Always is, mate. It's always a big week in the Premier League, as Kemp will attest to. This week it heads to Cardiff, so I have no doubt that for once Gerwyn Price will be in Bret Hart country.
Come on, Gerwyn. Gerwyn.
As you called him, the heel of darts when you backed him in last week's preview. He'll very much be the hometown hero and get the biggest pop of the night this week. So he faces Chris Dobey. So a great matchup that. It'll be second to last on for the quarterfinals. Chris Dobey, as we know, won last week in Belfast, kicking off the Premier League darts tournament with a win off the back of his Masters win as well, just a few days earlier. So that's a really, really brilliant match and a great hostile environment for Dobey to go into, with everyone in that arena going to be on Price's side. Also, Michael Smith against Johnny Clayton, Nathan Aspinall against Peter Wright, and Michael Van Gerwen against Dimitri van der Beek, closing off the quarterfinal matches. So pretty good lineup, which you're always going to get in the Premier League with the type of tournament that it is. Who would I back to win week 2 or night 2, whatever you want to call it? I think I would purely have to lean on Gerwyn Price, because we know what he's like with the crowd. We know how he likes to celebrate, and I think him having that support and everyone being right behind him, which, as we know, doesn't happen very often at all, I think he'll thrive on that. And yeah, I can see Gerwyn Price coming out the winner of night 2, which Kemp will do you a right job with your pre-tournament prediction of him winning the whole thing.
It will, and it backs me up in the sense that, I said he's a real form player, he's a real momentum player, and I think the Premier League format, like I've said before, suits him in that respect, because I sort of either think that Gerwyn Price going forward for the rest of the tournament will either get knocked out in the quarterfinal or B, go on to win the whole thing on the night. So hopefully the hometown boy can get it done. Like I say, he's got Chris Dobey in the first leg, and that's in the first game. That's going to be a tough one for him to get past, but then I back him to go in all the way. So as Dawson's just mentioned there, we do record on a Thursday to release on the Friday. The Premier League of Darts is on a Thursday night. So by the time we've recorded this episode and it is all released, then all the results will be out. So I'm sure we will revisit that on Tuesday.
Yeah, definitely. And you're probably looking at a Price Van Gogh in semi-final, and then a Smith, and then Aspinall Wright, maybe a Peter Wright Smith semi-final. So yeah, I think the crowd in Cardiff are in for a great night of darts. So yeah, Price against Dobie is brilliant. Price against you assume Price against a Van Gogh, and that's a great match for them as well. But yeah, my money's on Price. What about you for the night? Are you going to back him, or you're not too sure?
I'm going to back him. I think it's the semi-final. I think is where the banana skin comes, because if Michael Van Gerwen does get past Van der Berg, then Van Gerwen's always a beast. It's never an easy game when you play Michael Van Gerwen. So I think that will be the toughie. But if he got through that, I do see him winning in the final, like you say, either against Smith, Aspinall, Peter Wright, or Johnny Clayton. I think it is on that side of the bracket. So it'll be interesting, but we'll see who wins on the night. But I'm backing my boy, as I always do.
Yeah. Can I chime in as a non-darts watcher? Don't Loaded Sport have a claim to fame with obviously one of your beloved members, Sam White? His father met Van Gogh in a pub.
It's such a shame that Sam isn't with us for this.
I tell you what, everybody listening right now, make sure you stay tuned to the next episode that Sam White will be on, and we will make sure that it is well known on our social media pages, because we will get Sam to relive the night that his father ran into Michael Van Gerwen in Blackpool of all places. So
absolutely
thank you for reminding us about that.
It's a great story.
I'm sure the listeners will love that story when it does come around.
Absolutely. Well, I suppose that's everything covered for night 2 of the Premier League of Darts. So again, we will be back very shortly to get stuck into this weekend's football action.
Welcome back to episode 29 of Loaded Sport. It's now time for the listener lock-in. Welcoming the 6th person to have an attempt at it. Tina, hello.
Hello. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Are you looking forward to? Are you confident to beat the high score that's currently set at 2?
Yeah. To be fair, mate, there's not been a high bar set, has there? I mean. It's tough. The questions are tough. There's a lot of correct scores and everything in there. I get that, but fucking hell, I'd shape it up.
A bit of luck needs to go your way, doesn't it? But when it comes to scores and wild cards, and we're letting people go first, and we're still well over double their success rate, that tells you everything. You need to do a bit of research, a little bit of knowledge, and more importantly, a little bit of luck in there just to help you over the line, mate. But it should be a good attempt this week.
Know your shit, clearly.
Yeah, apparently so. But we'll see how this goes.
3 of us do anyway.
Except for
I'm saying you guys know what you're doing, don't you, at the very least. Tina, tell us who it is that you support and why.
So I'm a Derby fan.
Up the Rams.
Up the fucking Rams then. So actually, as a lad, when I was in primary school, I more followed Newcastle because I fucking loved Alan Shearer. He was my hero growing up. As I got like a little bit older and wanted to go and watch live football, Derby was the obvious answer.
I never knew that.
Yeah, Newcastle would have been probably from when I was about 5 to about 9. I used to have all the kits and everything. I absolutely love Shearer, mate.
You weren't kid that did fancy dresses, Les Ferdinand, were you?
No, I weren't.
You can groan all you want, mate. That's the most innocent thing. There were no racism involved there.
Yeah, it was. He
was so happy to go to school dressed as a hero. So wrong about that.
He was, yeah. No,
can you not remember the kid who got dressed up as a lad Jew as well, complete with a little fucking Mohican? That was brilliant. But
did he go in with a wobbly leg as well?
but no, it was when I started to get like 9, 10, and I wanted to go see live matches. I wasn't going to fucking go to Newcastle every week, so started going to Derby.
Even if you did go to Newcastle every week, you'd be in bed by 9 o'clock.
Yeah, been well rested, mate. Yeah,
some water up there.
So you carry on, Tina.
So yeah, ever since then, mate, Derby is man and boy.
Fair one, fair one. Obviously, we had the conversation last week with Malloy, who joined us and was a Derby fan, but one thing that I mentioned to him was a lot of concerning conversations over the summer, mainly between you and Sam, about what was happening with the club and the whole Kirchner thing, and where you're going to get bought and who you were going to get bought by, and what did this season mean. I know a lot of the conversations between you two were, let's just survive League One this year. Let's just do that. We've got a buyer. That's really good. That's the main thing. Let's just survive and then build on that. But the form recently, especially over the last 12 to 15 games, what can you see for, let's say, the short term, say the next 18 months to 2 years of Derby County? Where can you see them getting to?
I think we'll stabilise again as a Championship club. Warney's coming. He's got a vision for how he wants the team to play. He wants them to play attractive football, play out from the back. Most importantly, the one thing Rosini lacked, that one he has got a plan B. So when things are going wrong, he's got a couple of tweaks. So I generally, at this point, I think we're going to go up now this year. I think we've got too much momentum. Ipswich are slipping off. Plymouth are slipping a bit. I think we're going to do it. And then over the next couple of years, I think, we'll stabilise in the Championship. Perhaps then look for another buyer that can take us to the next level. But the most important thing, mate, is we've still got a fucking club. The feeling on, me, Sam and Ken went to the opening day. It was so emotional. It was real. I've not felt like that about football for a long time. And in a way, it was a positive thing for me because it got me back into football and it got me caring again.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I can remember you saying how emotional it was on that day. Just that feeling of we're still here. Yeah. It's probably after everything that happened and all the shit that did happen, that was probably the moment where it truly sunk in. Yeah. So no, I can imagine. Aggie, I'll let you crack on, mate, with getting us into the main event, which is the locks and other stuff for the weekend.
Yes, so Tina, as the guest, you get to go first. So we're looking, first of all, for the team that you are most confident in getting a win from any of the games between Saturday and Sunday.
So, it is a bit thin on the ground this week, but I've picked Arsenal to beat Brentford.
Ooh, interesting. Wow. Brentford, one of the in-form teams. Arsenal just lost to Everton. What's your thoughts behind that as a lock?
They are still top of the league, and they're there on merit. The Everton game, it's the new manager effect. I'm quite happy to ride it off. They're at home as well, and I think it was a minor blip in what will ultimately be a title-winning season. So, again, thin on the ground. If there were more fixtures about, I probably would have a look for something else, but there wasn't anything else that jumped out to me as like, right, this is a must pick.
Fair enough. Aggie, what's the wheel saying? It's a big wheel this week. We've got full squad on.
The first name out is Sam.
Oh, he's come in at the last second and stole it, hasn't he? Right, I am going to go for Burnley to beat Preston at home in the Championship. I haven't done much research because I wasn't even supposed to be on tonight until about 15 minutes ago. So, Burnley to beat Preston at home.
My first choice. Cheers for that. Cheers.
Up
next,
brutal.
I've only got a couple of backups because I didn't expect Sam and Mudge to be in, so I've got a feeling I'm just going to have to scramble and end up picking an away game anyway. Up next, Skin.
Standard.
Skin. I will go with my first choice pick then. I had 4 prepped for some reason, but I'll go with my top pick, and that is Barnsley. On the C word list, the cunt list for Kemp after letting him down when we were at Donny Dome one time.
Perfect pint of Guinness to cheer me up, though.
Well, mate, the crispest. But they're at home to Cambridge United this season. They've won, 6 out of the last 7 home games. They're playing really well. Cambridge, not so much. They've lost 5 out of the last 7 away games. They haven't won away in 8. Barnsley aren't in the greatest of forms. They're currently 14th in the league form table, but Cambridge in the last 5 have only got 2 points. They've scored 3 and conceded 13. So for me, the perfect game for Barnsley to get back on track in that League One playoff race.
Good shout. Kemp, up next.
Oh, baby. Thank God for that, because I was quickly running out of locks. So I went to the Sheffield United and Wrexham game over earlier on in the week, where Sheffield United came out at 3-1 winners against Wrexham in the FA Cup. But despite all the shithousery by the Wrexham social media pages and the fans before the game, I thought they played absolutely brilliantly well. I think they are a very, very strong side, and it boggles my mind as to how they're not quite a few points clear at the top of the league. Notts County are doing a tremendous job. But my lock of the week on the back of that is going to be Wrexham at home against Wealdstone.
You don't think there'll be a bit of a hangover, big trip, a lot of energy into it?
Not at all. I think if anything, it'll give them a bit of a bounce, because up until the last 4 minutes of the game, we were going to penalties. So over 2 legs, they were very competitive against the team that's not in our best form at the moment, but we're second in the Championship regardless. And then they're fantastic at home. They very nearly got a win against Sheffield United at home. The crowd are right behind them, and there's a very good feeling and a can-do spirit, I think, around Wrexham at the moment. So, yeah, they're very, very strong favourites against a languishing Wealdstone, and I would expect them to get a comfortable win. I do want some. I want a lock of the week, and that's what hopefully this will be.
There we go. Aggie, are you last again, mate, or have you scraped it at the death?
I'm last again, which means, Mudge, please don't take my final lock.
We'll hate you.
I'm not going to lie, mate. I think I'm in a similar situation to you. I've just listened to everyone their pick of the pie. So would you like my lock of the week first?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay, so my lock of the week is going to be Eddie Howe's Newcastle to beat Bournemouth away. I think Bournemouth are going to be up for it. They want to kind of I don't know how it ended between them, but obviously it'd be nice to get one over your old gaffer. I think Newcastle need to bounce back from a really poor 1-1 draw with West Ham. That cost me £600, but we won't talk about that. But yeah, I've got Eddie Howe's Newcastle to beat Bournemouth.
Thoughts on him picking an away team, lads?
Dangerous, but I like it.
I know. I want to go out. I want to go a bit out there. I want to go a bit out there.
We call it the Aggie. Aggie, go on, mate. Does he take? I'm going to assume because they're away, you do seem like you were determined to pick a home team this week. So I'm going to guess that your remaining pick is still available.
You're right. My remaining pick is still available, and I'm going to be boring, and I'm going to go Man City to win it.
Yeah, had to be. I'm surprised they still stayed there this long, to be honest.
Yeah, my first choice.
Don't trust them at the minute.
City at the moment, they need to bounce back from something. They're in danger of having a lot of turmoil. They've got a lot going on behind the scenes as well, so they really need to get points back on the board. Just try and keep the fans happy at the moment, and I think Aston Villa has a great chance to do that.
I like it, mate. It's a good pick from you, that.
It's a good pick, but it's very safe, isn't it? I feel like the whole point...
but he needs it. Wait
until Sam picks Erling Haaland next.
We've got on him so much for picking away games. So
and you know what? A lock of the week being too safe, that's never a bad thing. A lock of the week is so to the head. What can you guarantee? Yeah, what can you guarantee you think is going to happen? And for once in his miserable life, Adam Marsden has gone for an actual lock. So
you're ready to celebrate when he gets it right.
Well done, Adam, mate. Well done.
Thank you. Right, Tina, over to you for the goal scorer.
There is only one for me. It's Erling Haaland.
Hey, Sam, get scrambling.
What a bastard.
It's Aston Villa and it's Erling Haaland. He's hit a rough patch for him. He's not scored for a game or two. So he's
not scored away all season. So he's back where he needs to be to put the ball in the back of the net, apparently.
Will probably score 4. So
I say all season, all year. Sorry, should I say?
Yeah, he's a tremendous striker, and I think he's going to bag easy.
I think that's a safe bet. So going in the snake format means I get to go first for the scorer, and I'm going to go back to somebody that won it for me a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to go for...
Derek Henry.
Jerick McKinnon.
Chuba Akpom.
Charlie Austin.
Middlesbrough third in the Championship.
Back to him again.
Against
Akpom.
21st place Cardiff City. I think he got 2 last week as well, so I'm going for him this week.
Yeah, why not, mate? Like you said, he won it for you a couple of weeks ago, so stick to what you know in the attempt of having a good week, so don't blame me, mate. Right,
Mudge, you're next.
It's an interesting one because I'm going way too out there, but I think Rashford is on fire to a point where I think he's scored in every game since he's returned from the World Cup. Am I wrong or am I right on that?
No, he's had a couple where he's not scored.
He's had a couple, right?
He scored 11 in 13.
Jesus Christ. I've got to back Rashford. I triple captained him in fantasy. I believe in the boy. 6 minutes against France in that quarter-final game was atrocious.
Never forget.
Yeah, give me Mark.
Fair enough. He bagged against Leeds on Wednesday night, didn't he? And they're going to Ellen Road for the return trip. So I'm sure Eric Ten Hag will be very, very adamant that he wants him to go and not be as slow to start in both halves as they were in that midweek fixture. So fair enough.
Kemp, over to you.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Eddie Nketiah this weekend. I think.
He was my backup.
As we've mentioned, Brentford are giving a fantastic account of themselves, but Arsenal have had a couple of losses in a row, one in the cup against Man City, and then obviously the new manager bounce of Mr. Sean Dyche to give them their second defeat, I think, of the Premier League season so far. So, yeah, I think they will bounce back. I wasn't confident enough with to put them down as my lock, but I will quite comfortably say that Eddie Nketiah is my scorer of the week. He's been in a little bit of a down patch, and I expect him to, hopefully for him, return to a little bit of goal-scoring form.
Nice. Skin.
He was my backup mate there, so good pick. I'll take my first choice then. I'll keep it short. I'm going to Kemp's lock, which is Wrexham. I'm going Paul Mullen. He's absolute fire. He's phenomenal at home. He scored at midweek. I've got him to score again at the weekend.
And if you don't make it as a professional footballer, it can always be a good 10-metre diver at the Olympics.
There you go.
Don't be blue, Peter.
Right, Sam.
To say.
Was it me? So I have gone for a similar reason to what Mudge mentioned with the return of Eddie Howe to Bournemouth. However, he's not the only person that's returning to them, is it? Callum Wilson, the striker. I am backing Callum Wilson to score against his former club, and I do think Newcastle will do him as well. So I think it's a good pick from Mudge, and I think Wilson will be the one to score.
I like that. Yeah.
So, Tina, your
Yes.
wild card. So the team you think is most likely to cause an upset.
Sheffield Wednesday away at Ipswich.
They were backup number one.
The Owls are obviously in tremendous form, and also we are now only 2 points behind with Ipswich with a game in hand, which means if we win this weekend and Wednesday win, we move into third. So I'm fucking willing it into existence.
Come on.
That was backup number one for me out of my two backups. So yeah, fair pick there.
Okay, Sam, you start first.
Yeah, so I am going to go against Tina's lock, and I'm going for Brentford to beat Arsenal as my wild card. That was one of the reasons why I audible gasped when he first mentioned it, because I've seen that. I think Brentford, where are they? They're unbeaten in the last five, won 4 out of the last 5, and I just think
top of the form table, aren't they, at the minute?
I think it's prime for an upset that game. So yeah, why not?
Skin.
Yeah, why not Fest indeed? Well, thankfully, that means that my very first choice for the wild card is still available. And I am going to go against the team yet again that I went against in the wild card last week. And that is Norwich. And I'm going to take Bristol City to beat them this weekend. Bristol City are in fantastic form. They've won 4 out of their last 5. They're not lost in about 9. And Norwich have lost 3 out of their last 5. But somehow, yet again, go into them weekend fixture as the bookies' favourite. So I'm going to take Bristol City as my wild card.
Nice. Kemp?
I am going to go with Millwall, who are away against QPR. QPR are in a torrid run of form at the moment. I don't think they've won in 8. I think it is now 8 or 9. So yeah, a really, really difficult patch for QPR at the moment. And Millwall, to be fair, not doing too bad. They're in 8th place. They're having an okay season. Beat Cardiff not so long ago, and a respectable draw against Sunderland, and only matches they've lost in very recent history are against Sheffield United and Middlesbrough, who are, Sheffield United was in the cup and Middlesbrough are really pushing on. So Millwall away at QPR is my wild card of the week.
Oh, nice one, cheers,
mate. Okay. Mudge?
Will you give me Brighton versus Crystal Palace away?
Depends what the odds say.
No, Brighton are favourites.
Are they? Right.
Yes. The definition of the wild card is if they're not the bookies' favourite for the game.
Yeah.
Brighton are evens favourites for that one.
I will go for Everton to beat Liverpool at home then. I'll go really rogue.
Can't have it. It's Monday night.
What have I got to go for then?
Between Friday and Sunday.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Ag, if you go for yours and then come back to me, please. I'm sure I will have one.
No problem. I'm going to go for West Ham to beat Chelsea.
Oh, talk to me.
West Ham have lost just one in their last 6. They're starting to turn form around a little, and Chelsea, I think, are quite poor. And with it being Derby Day, anything can happen, really, can't it? Quite a big game for both
Declan
sides.
Rice will fancy it, won't he?
Yeah, they'll be up for it. Last couple of games, of course, they got that 1-1 draw with Newcastle. They beat Everton before that. That'll have given them a little bit of an extra boost, of course, as well to kind of add to their survival hopes. So, as a wild card, I think it's a good shout to go West Ham to beat Chelsea.
Why not, mate? Why not?
Mudge?
I will go for. Oh, all right. I'm going to go rogue. I'll go Leicester to beat Tottenham.
It.
The reason for this is because I have run out of time. I will just hope that Spurs have a capitulation on the field and Leicester do them. I think
the first time, would it?
Spurs obviously had a really good result against City with Kane scoring his 200th goal, but they've not been that consistent this season. So am I confident at them nabbing an away win at Leicester? I'd say no to that. So give me Leicester versus Spurs.
Okay. That's the locks in from us then. So for the second part of the listener lock-in, Skin.
Aye. Yes, Tina, mate. So we've got your lock, we've got your score, we've got your wild card, and the same few as every one of our guests so far, and that will be coming on between now and the end of the season. Yep. We need 3 score predictions to complete your potential score out of 6. And the first one, as always, is the game in which your team that you support is playing. So that is Wycombe versus Derby.
3-0, Mighty Rams.
Holy shit.
We're going to fucking punt it sword.
Reckon?
Oh, mate, they were one of the 2 clubs that obviously tried to give us the most shit while we were going under. So I think, yeah, fuck them. They're having it.
Yeah. Big time.
Turn up, cause chaos, leave.
Yeah, fuck them.
Fuck them indeed. I like it. The second game, mate, is involving the team that you've gone for your wild card. So we've got a bit of a spoiler as to which way you're leaning. But Ipswich versus Sheffield Wednesday. What's your score for that?
2-1 Wednesday.
Okay, interesting. That's a big weekend for Derby. That if they win 3-0 and Sheffield Wednesday win 2-1.
Yeah, it's a make up for wedding, wasn't it?
Yeah. Fucking hell.
Hey up, dog, you're right.
Right.
At Niall Morley. Copyrighted. Protected. Shit. I said full name. And the third and final game to complete the 6 is the return fixture from the midweek game, Leeds versus Manchester United, 2-2 midweek at Old Trafford. What have you got for the fixture at Ellen Road?
I think United's quality shines through this time. I think it's 3-1.
Which United?
Man U. I think it's 3-1. Ten Hag's doing obviously a sensational job. The squad lacks a little bit of depth. I think that's what's come through the other night, but I think they'll do them.
Yeah, interesting. So to complete the 6 then, you've got Arsenal as your lock, Erling Haaland as your scorer, Sheffield Wednesday as your wild card, Derby to beat Wycombe 3-0, Sheffield Wednesday to beat Ipswich 2-1, and Manchester United Manchester United to beat Leeds United 3-1. So as always, we will review that alongside everything else that happens over the weekend early next week in our review show. I do wish you the best of luck because people are struggling at the moment. As always, very excited to see how this plays off. Aggie, do you want to take it home, my friend?
Yes, that is all we've got for this week. So, lads, Tina, Mudge, thanks for joining us as the guests and, of course, to discuss your beloved Eagles in the Super Bowl. Hopefully, when we review it next week, it will be all good news and fly, Eagles, fly.
Get us in that fucking den.
Oh.
Are we buzzing for Pizza Land order, lads?
Yeah, I was about to say buzzing for order. Pizza Land is stopping.
Sam, I know you've been a bit under the weather, mate, so thank you very much for making the effort to join us, and I hope you feel better soon.
Thank you so much, Sam. Thank you so much.
Try to be a bit more sincere this time, mate.
You have just ruined his weekend, to be fair.
Yeah, that's very true, mate.
Fly, Eagles, fly right into a jet propeller.
Well, I'll tell you what, lads. This people will be listening to this on Friday. Sunday, we're playing American football together. Like I said, we're getting in the den for lots of food, lots of action, and hopefully a great Super Bowl. And if that isn't enough to get us all through Saturday, I don't know what is. But we'll be back early.